Good evening. Welcome. It is. Has it started yet, Evans MFC? No, it hasn't, because we didn't press live and we were having a conversation and making sure things were set up. Something what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, we can't, but we will get it going for the next one. And I might try and get it working while we're doing this, maybe. Good evening. Welcome to the Sunday night debrief. And welcome Stephen back. 2 shows in a week. You done a midweek with Omar as well, didn't you?
I did. My things have been really busy, but
like buses, you are, aren't you?
back answering the call after a pretty disappointing afternoon yesterday.
But a good night out though. So
a good night out, yeah. Good night out.
Good night out. So yeah. Welcome. Stephen is back with us tonight. We could be joined at any point by Frankie, Ben, maybe Omar, but don't hold your breath, because I think he's probably in a hangover from hell. He went out Friday night and then he went out all day yesterday and got back very late, I believe. So yeah, it is what it is. We will get into the crux of it in a minute. But I think first of all, we're probably leading with the intro, and after that, we will get right in depth, because I think it's probably going to be a lively show, to be fair. Lots to discuss, lots to cover, a few questions for you guys, and yeah, without further ado, let's hit the intro.
Language you don't usually hear on television. Millwall in London's Dockland.
No one likes us, but we don't care. We're that Millwall podcast. Loud every Friday night right here. Legends like Jimmy and Abdul take a share of the kitchen or two. Super Neil Harris, a fucking legend too. Through the good times and this life, we support the Lions all our life. This ain't no place for fancy feet. This is fucking Millwall through and through, located on our very own John Benison way. Let them all come, let them have their say. Millwall till we die. With that Millwall podcast, loud every Friday night right here.
Do you know what I realised once I pressed it, that it was a Friday night live one, but most of them are. Don't worry, I will do a Sunday night debrief, because we are going to bring back the Sunday night debrief show, because I think it's one to have worth having, and hopefully on our next show we will have a phone number so that you can call in to. I'll try to get it working tonight, but it didn't. So yeah, but don't worry, we will have it working next show by next week. So yeah, not a problem. Stephen, welcome back. Hope you're well, fella. And yeah, you look well last night. You look good. Life seems to be good for you. So much good luck for you there, fella. Right, before we go on, I want to say this. Right, yesterday was abysmal. We can't deny that, and we're going to get into that in a little bit more depth in a minute. But all I do want to say is, are we in this position now purely because of the last 4, maybe 5 managers? We've never really gone out there and brought young talent or looked at young talent. It's always been journeymen, the likes of Ryan Woods, Hutch, people like that, you know, people who've been there. I mean, you think realistically, a huge percentage of our team has been there over 7 years. And for any football club, you get sussed out. And where we are now coming in to make these changes and actually invest in something what probably we should have done maybe 10, 15 years ago, you're in that position where you're you've got to make changes, but you've got to do it in a way that you can't go so quickly. Frankie's joining us. Good evening, Frankie. I'm just doing the opening monologue, so bear with us. So I think that the last 4 or 5 managers we've had has brought us to the position where we are now. The clear out in the summer, last summer, and a change of direction which we all know that we needed, has brought us to where we are now, where we have aging players who are losing the legs. We're trying to bring in players, but the trouble is that we can't suddenly go out and buy a top-level championship striker or midfielder, attacking midfielder, etc., when we've got to make sure that we buy it, because we're going to need to buy 3 or 4 players. So we can't go out and spend £10 million on one player when probably we need to be looking at spending maybe 2, 3. And it'll be a question what I'll come to later on regarding the money. Is this a long-term problem, but now we're starting to see the downside of it? Or is this something what's just happened now? Because let's be honest, 6, 7 games before Alex Neil come in, we weren't scoring. We'll come on to the goals in a minute. We've got some stats and stuff for there. I don't know, Stephen, your thoughts on that?
Well, the best way to answer your question about the recruitment over the last few years is I'm just going to read out some names who started the game yesterday and the manager that signed them or at least were involved. Jake Cooper, Joe Bryan, Ryan Leonard, Casper Denor, Duncan Watmore, George Honeyman. So it's 7 players who have been here under Gary Rowett, Neil Harris, Joe Edwards, obviously Adam Barrett in an interim. You can't really, blame him, but and now Alex Neil. It was the first thing I noticed when I saw the team yesterday. I do think we are incredibly unlucky with some injuries, and that we do have to factor that in. I think
there's a lot of players playing with injury as well at the minute.
But 7 players that have played for the last 4 managers, and considering that 2 of those have had longer spells at the club, it screams that we've just consistently relied on the sort of out with the any of the younger players that people just seem to get released, and we've relied heavily on, like, even if you look on the bench, and I'm not criticizing these people, but Billy Mitchell's been around since Neil Harris was first here. Danny McNamara has obviously been come through the academy again, been here a long time. Murray Wallace, Sean Hutchinson. It's 11 players out of the 18 in a matchday squad that have been here for such a long time. And age catches up with all of us. In any walk of life, it catches up with every single one of us. And unfortunately, we are in a position now where recruitment is now the forefront. It's right at the top of the list. Everybody's talking about it. Sell young for big money. Apparently, my mic is playing up. Can you guys hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, it has been mismanaged recruitment, and now we're looking at it, but we're at a stage where it's desperation, not, we could have done it over a few transfer windows. Now we're at the point where we're like, we desperately need this.
I mean, just before you come in a set, Frankie, I just want to hit on a couple of points that have come in, and then obviously I'll take your views on it. Daily Mirror says we can't keep buying players all the time. Jake Cooper and some of the others have been absolute bargains, brought for cheap and stayed fit. Stayed for 7 years, playing hundreds of games each. Danny Chaplin says we wouldn't be in this position if they gave more trust to Sir Neil Harris in the first place. I don't necessarily agree with that, and we'll come on to that in a little bit. Rowett and Harris never trusted our youngsters. I agree with that. Our midfield need to clear out. I think it needs to clear up, but I think if I'm all honest, I'd probably keep Saville purely for the morale, with the fact that he knows Millwall and he's half. I think the team side of it would probably be good. Gary Terrell says, "Hi lads, we need to sort squad out, get rid of at least 6 players, bring in new faces in who know how to play the game." Andrew Roberts says again, Dan, we have a 6'4" centre back. Justin, ideal for him to play in a back 3 that Neil wanted, but instead he puts 5'7" Brian there. That's a 9-inch shortage in height. Not even Rowett would have done it. It must have been a reason why we didn't play him yesterday, to be fair. Our out of contract players. Now that's where I want to go. Our out of contract players are a danger to the team. And that's a point I want to come back to in a little while. But Frankie, what's your thoughts, fella?
Hello, mate. Sorry,
Sorry, Frankie, just before you start, lots of the comments are saying that all of us are breaking up. It wasn't just me. I don't know if there's an issue. There's quite a few saying it. I thought it was just mine, which is why I've changed my headphones. But
I don't know.
he said it was you as well.
I'm not hearing it. Is anyone okay? I don't.
You're now muted. Yeah, he's now muted for me as well. No, I can't hear you, mate. Just out of interest, guys, if you're in the chat right now to give us a little bit of help, if you can just put a thumbs up quickly, if you can hear us or anything's going on. Obviously, there's a few saying that we're not coming through. There's a few saying that we are. I don't know what Frankie. I don't know if you want to.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
I can hear a little bit, mate. Yeah.
Hang on 1 minute. Let me just double check. That's better, isn't it? There we go. Is that better?
I can hear you now, mate.
Can you hear me, Frankie?
Yes, mate.
Can you hear me? The world. Guys, read the messages. We will do it. We're going to have to repeat all of that as well. I've changed links in case. There we go. Go on, Frankie, your turn.
I think we're definitely seeing the end product of years and years of piss poor recruitment, to be completely honest with you, and a frightening reluctance to get rid of players that everyone can quite clearly see are approaching the end of their careers and well past their peak. Just to sort of bring that to life a little bit, if you look at this summer, we got rid of Mitchell, Fleming, Nisbet, Bart retired, and the loan players left. That was it. The year before that, we lost 6 players. The year before that, we lost 5. When the reality is, we're now looking at this summer thinking, I personally think we could lose 10 players, and I wouldn't miss any of them, if I'm going to be completely honest. The only reason you wouldn't is because squad depth. But in terms of actual ability, able to contribute on the field, I don't think you miss any of them. And the pressure is massively on now, because if we don't get this right and we don't actually attack this window, well, this the January and the summer, sort of branching two together. If we don't attack them windows and get them right, the reality is we will find ourselves in League One. And the project's great, and I'm completely on board with what the club want to do and what we're trying to do with Gallon and stuff. Absolutely. But you've got to see this season through for that. Just like we said last year, you've got to see it through. Otherwise, it all goes to shit.
Yep.
I think that's my biggest concern. And the club's got to be, and I'm sure they are, but the club's got to be aware that if they get this wrong,
yeah,
£14 million for SM means absolutely nothing, because you will lose so much in TV money by getting relegated. It's all for now. And
no, I totally agree with that.
They're going to be bold this January. They're going to do something they haven't done before, something that's uncomfortable for Millwall. And they're going to really go out there and maybe flex some muscles a little bit. Stop waiting for other clubs to act and start making shit happen, to be frank.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Stephen, do you want to say something for a second? I'll just grab a button for my mouse. I think it's because my other keyboard blew up because someone spilt something on it, and I think that's still picking up and pressing buttons. So yes, to do that, and I've just changed it. I've taken it out now, so it should be fine. But yeah, do that, and I'll come back to you in 2 seconds.
I think Frankie's spot on, mate. I genuinely think that this transfer window is massive for the football club. It's massive. It was massive beforehand because we were starting to slip up a little bit, and the rumblings of SA going and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Now we've got countless injuries all over the place. We've got players probably playing with injuries because they're forced into it because we've got no one else to come in, and we do need to spend some money. There seems to be at the moment a little bit of, and I don't want to slag off. I'm not slagging off Alex Neil, just to be clear, because it's way too early to judge him. It really, really is. Mm-hmm. But over the last couple of years, there's just been some real snap decisions made about everything. Kavanagh, I know people had their opinions on him, much like Aldo as well. Although whatever, there was lots of talk about him, and then people were replaced. There's managers have been replaced, players have been, we've drastically gone from one, bringing in a lot of experienced players that can play in different number of positions to now going, we want youth players and we want specialist players. We want to be bringing up youth and assets and things like that. It's just snap decisions all the time. And it just seems that we're caught in a bit of a crossfire at the moment. We desperately need the end of the season, and we're still such a long way from it.
And I mean, listen, I think to be fair, with hearing things in the background and seeing things what have gone on and everything else, I think the CEO probably needed to go fast, and I think the way they did it had to go. I suppose the fact that we don't know what went on probably doesn't make it any better. If we knew something, if it was like, if it was a gross misconduct or had done something or something detrimental, then I suppose it would be, better. But the way it works at Millwall is eventually it will come out at some point. It always does in the wash. But I think you can't help having to get rid of a CEO and then look at what's going on. I mean, I've said plenty of times before, listen, I honestly believe that JB was kept in the dark. I honestly believe that JB was told what he needed to know, not what he wanted to know. And I think that the difference you've got now is since John's death, unfortunately, and rest in peace, John, is that you had someone who was, I wouldn't say manipulated, but was told what was going on. And, oh, John, we need this check written for this, or we need this for this, or we need that for that. And now you've got someone who's, according to speaking to people and stuff, and seeing him at games and people sending pictures and stuff like that. James Berylson seems to be at a lot more games. He seems to be over a lot more, and he seems to be a lot more hands-on. And I think that he's obviously seen stuff with him and his other, with him and his other directors that things weren't right, and he made that decision to get rid of people he got rid of. And then obviously brought in the way that he wanted to go forward and get heavily involved. So I think that change we couldn't avoid happening. And again, with the players, the problem you've got there and the managers is that you get to another level where, again, it's an inherited problem. And then you've just got to figure out the easiest way to get rid of without going in and going, right, you, out, and then bringing new. You've got to do a transition or else you'll get banging trouble. So I do think what you said earlier, Frankie, that this is a transition period. This is a rebuild, and rebuilds aren't always great. But it's something we've got to do and hope that Lady Luck's on our side and we don't get relegated.
But you've got to do it, and it's going to be painful.
It has to be done, yeah.
And we've seen bigger clubs than us fail to properly do a rebuild and properly commit to it and see it through, and they're still struggling. And all what Spurs today, Spurs absolutely dog shit, and they've struggled to rebuild for the last 10 years. But I think I completely agree with you. The people that left did have to go, and it's only right that there had to be action out of the debacle of Edwards last season, because that was really a huge issue.
That's it.
No, there had to be a fallout from that, in my opinion, anyway. And it was the right thing to do it.
Just one sec. Evans MFC, you might need to just restart your YouTube, mate, and then catch up. Because sometimes if we keep cutting out, it could be your YouTube. Because everyone else is saying we're okay. So it could be a YouTube fella. Just cut out and come back in. So yeah. Let's answer some of these what are coming through quickly. Andy Herbert says, any decent team would have taken Hull apart. We look worse than Hull. To be fair, what was it said yesterday is that Hull's been bottom three all season, and someone said that we made Hull yesterday look like Barcelona, Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? We just didn't look up for it yesterday with certain players. I mean, Tango was ripping people to shreds. If you watch him, I mean, when their goal went in, he absolutely annihilated our midfield. And he went up to each of them and fucking read them the right act. And he seemed to be barking orders around, you know, and every time the ball come back, he kept getting the ump and telling him it needs to go forward. So, you know, to me, I would look at possibly he should be a captain, because I just don't think Jake Cooper is a good captain for us. Regardless, I think we need, you know, a more of a warrior mentality as a captain. But I think we need goals. And
the problem is, and that what you just said there is the biggest issue. Our defence, okay, Joe Bryan aside, because Joe Bryan is I really don't know how. Yeah, I just don't see how someone can be consistently bad. That if you have a couple of
just played in the wrong positions.
No, he's because he's not interested, and I tell you why. Because every time he goes forward, how many times where he's supposed to be an attacking fullback, he can't cross the ball. He never gets the ball over. He hasn't really got pace to beat a fullback. He doesn't offer us anything. But defense aside, Joe Bryan aside, we've got one of the best defensive records in the division, and you can't. I know that sounds a bit odd, but we do. We are strong at the back. We don't concede more than two or more than a goal the majority of the time. There's been a couple in the last sort of few weeks, but not over the course of the season. It's not happened very often. We have strengthened at the back. Crammer, to me, does look a good signing. Maybe not going to play a lot of football right now, but I think he definitely will get some minutes. But that's not the issue. The issue is creativity and scoring goals. The chat, I asked this on Twitter. I was talking about it yesterday at the ground. Can someone explain to me how, when we lined up yesterday, how we were trying to score a goal? Because I cannot tell you how we were trying to break Hull down yesterday. All it seemed was we were hoping for a lucky goal off of a free kick or a corner. Yeah. A little bit of luck. You cannot go into any level of football, especially the championship, going into games relying on luck. You can't. It's impossible. I know people will say it was the same under Harris, but there were games under Harris where you could at least see some chances. Yesterday, just watching us, you thinking, how in God's earth are we going to score a goal? And I don't know. No one's been able to give me an answer as to what we were trying to do yesterday.
I completely agree with everything you've said there. And I think if you was to ask anyone in the chat, when you saw that 11 get announced yesterday, we all sat there and thought, what the fuck is that? You weren't going to score in a million years. You're not going to create chances in midfield of Denor, Saville, Honeyman, and Watmore. You're just not. At least two of them are just not cut out for this level of football week in, week out. The only thing I would say is, and I think whilst it was marginally better under Harris, he got us attacking a bit better. That's actually
I just want to come to a point. I just want to come to something here. What's done here, Kevin? We need a real manager, not a director of football. There lies the problem. No, see, I think there doesn't lie the problem. I think we need a director of football to give us what we need to be doing. We need a manager who gets on with the director of football, so that they're two aligned and then they move forward. I think the problem we had under Harris and Gallen was that they were at loggerheads with each other and it just weren't working. And I understand why, because obviously he was here under the last, with Steve Kavanagh, was probably promised the earth, and then all of a sudden come to summer, everything changed and this is the way we're moving forward. He's never been a big fan of playing youth. He's not really a manager, what you would say, develops. And you only need to look. I think Alex Neil, out of the names what were quoted around, is probably the best manager for those. And we seem to have players what are coming in, what seem to be his players to a degree. The way he speaks about them, the way he said, some of the interviews that, he's discussed what this player could offer, etc., etc. So I think that he's having input into the players what are coming in, same way as I think Neil Harris had input coming in. It was just some of the players I think Neil just wasn't necessarily a big fan of or didn't see, he'd rather buy a journeyman, as in Alex Neil's probably better at developing youngsters. What do you think on that point from Kevin? Go you, Frankie.
I think we've got a manager and I think we've got a director of football. So I think that everyone's entitled to their opinion, right? I think the thing where this all falls down for me is if we're being real here, we've been shit now for about 2 years. We were shit.
Yeah.
We've been shit this season. We were shit last season, and we were actually shit the second half of the season. The year was going for the playoffs, and you look at some of the points we dropped that season, horrific. We can't keep changing managers and still trotting out the same players that when the chips are down, when it gets hard, consistently let you down. Other than a 10-game period when Neil come back and got everyone sort of batting down the hatches. Excluding that little period, it's been horrific watching for 2 years now. We desperately have to move on some of these players, in my opinion, and that is the biggest issue. All this talk about, it's a good dressing room, they're good lads. I'm at the point where I don't care anymore. I don't care if they're the nicest fella in the world. You're not winning football games. So some of these players have got to go.
Can I just, I will add to that. I know that I might be in the minority in the sense that in the chat or whatever, but I don't think we were as bad under Neil Harris this season as people might make out to be. We weren't great. I'm not saying we were playing football like Real Madrid or Barcelona. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't think we were that bad. Towards the end, yes, it wasn't great. The performance levels had obviously dropped off quite a bit. But can you honestly say that we would have that we would be in the position 2 months ago on the back of being unbeaten in 9 to being in this position where we're talking about now we're 4 points off of the relegation zone and talking like we're in panic station? Something isn't right at the club. And you're right, Frankie, it hasn't been right at the club. But arguably, it hasn't been right at the club since John passed away, maybe just before. For whatever reason, everything has been a snap decision here, snap decision there. We've sold our 2 best players, technically best players in Fleming and SA in the same season.
Yeah,
they are.
I would debate on there. I mean, Fleming threw his toys out of the plan when Kavanagh refused to sell him for 12 million. So he wasn't the player he was the second half of the first season we had him. He wasn't the same player the following year. Yeah, he got some goals and he got a few assists, but he wasn't the player what we done. And he went to Burnley and he was at Burnley for so long before he scored his first goal. So
but now he's come good though. Now you might not agree.
Yeah,
you might not agree.
Isn't necessarily going to walk straight into the Crystal Palace team either. So I think
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Fleming and SA, technically, on technical ability, were our better players. They were better than any of the other. Fleming, you could tell that first season he was miles ahead of everybody else. SA, technical ability, miles ahead of everybody else. We're now in a position where, okay, this model of selling players, you have to do it if you want to be successful. And I've seen loads of quotes on this. When Brentford and Brighton were selling their best players, they had someone lined up to walk through the door. Remain SA was going 2 weeks ago, and we still don't have anybody in. Whether they're working on that or not, who knows?
Yeah, there is talk. I think to be fair on there, I think we were probably looking at a Mark who was going to be an interim replacement to get us by for the summer, and then unfortunately he's got injured and he's now out for probably 4 weeks or 5 weeks or so. I think so. I think Southern News said yesterday. So I think they were probably hit with a little bit of luck. I want to. Go on, Steve, finish your point, and then I've got a point which is going to be a little bit controversial, but it was something where I overheard some conversations yesterday with players, and it's just something what I want to hit on and possibly put out to the audience and see what they say. But yeah, go on.
I just feel like we have pushed the trigger on this plan of whatever the Bald and Jimmy and Gallen, whatever they want to do. But to have that successful model, you have to have players coming through all the time. You have to have players lined up for when you lose one, you gain one and you bring one in. I don't think as a club we're in a position to do that. So for me, people will say Fleming was crap in the last 6 months of last season. Yeah, okay, he might have been, and it took him time to settle at Burnley, but he's now playing regularly, scoring goals in a side that's third in the league. So he's not a bad player. And SA, okay, he wasn't setting the world alight with his numbers, but he was the creative spark. He was someone that actually looked like he was going to do something. And just at the moment, we don't seem to be able to replace them, or maybe they are working on it. And I'll eat some humble pie. We've clicked our fingers. This is the way we're going to go, but we're trying to do it in fast forward because we're catching up, rather than doing it over a period of time. And now we're in a position where we're going to have to drastically change the plan to bring in players now. That's just how I see it.
That's how all this stuff works, isn't it?
That's it.
If you always go in one direction, a shit direction, you have to massively course correct, and 9 times you oversteer to get you back on centre.
I agree. I mean,
Frankie. Sorry, Mickey, but on that, we've decided that we're going to go down this business model and do it just straight away. This is the way we're going to go. This is something that needed to have been done over a longer period of time. It should have happened when Jed Wallace was at the club. We let Jed Wallace go for free, and that should have been the time where we had an asset where he was worth money. I get that Cav might not have wanted to sell him, but at that point, that's when we should have sold him, brought someone in.
It wasn't about selling him. It wasn't about selling him. It was about the fact that he would have stayed with us, apart from we didn't offer him the money what he wanted, and then we offered to match it at last minute, and he said, "Listen, I've told you for like so many weeks you could match it, and I'd stay." And you wait till the last minute to do it. So he got the ump with Cav, I think, and that's one of the reasons why he went. But let me just address this point. No one, I'll take it, it's no one likes us. It says Neil's post-match interview is worrying. The problem is I don't know if they release the full post-match. That's just his post-match, isn't it? Is it? I don't think it's the same length. I've not watched it on Millwall TV, but the post-match, what he did with the press was about 14 and a half minutes, and I don't think he was positive. I think he was raising quite. I mean, we listened to it last night, Stephen. I mean, he was raising quite a few issues, what we would probably raise, and he was explaining a few things and everything else. So I think there's possibly a little bit of propaganda there from the club, as in the one they put out to us on Millwall TV isn't necessarily the one what goes out to the media, which, and I banged on before. I don't see why they can't just release that. If there's an embargo for the media and the media need to do the stories, then just release it on a Monday. But it should be recorded, it should be out there, we should be able to see it. If it was in the Premier League, we'd see it live. Do you know what I mean? We'd get the press release. So yeah, it's one of those. If you need to edit it, whatnot. Let me just get through some of these comments for here. Neil Harris's transfers were more than likely, if you take away the players he knew, like Morrow, Craig, too many Salak, Shackles and Butchers. I would hope the DF is providing a short list of options to Neil or Harris as it was, and a discussion happens and movement from there. I believe that's how it works. And also, don't forget, we've got a hell of a lot of recruiters, because, I mean, there was something where Gallen said in both his interviews, is that we allegedly have a database of people we've been watching to fulfill positions within our club, and they've been watching them for ages. So this is something what's been going on with the recruiters. So, they have it there. I'm going to keep putting these on. I've got a controversial point for you, right? I overheard a couple of players yesterday, saying something about the fans are really toxic. And this is going to be an interesting point, to be fair. What I want to know is, over the last 5-6 years with Kavanagh here, we were being sanitised in one way or another, right? Whether or not it was blatantly being sanitised, or whether it was an indirectly sort of sanitisation and building us into, different bits and pieces, ranging from the drug dogs to, to drinks or the food, or the way you get your tickets, the away tickets, everything else. There was all forms of being sanitised. The hate not help line, the grief around taking the need, anything and everything within what went on within the stadium was there, and I don't know whether or not it's calmed everything down. And then over the last year and a bit, the fans have been coming back to being proper Millwall again, where, we pay our money, we want to see good football, and that's it. Win, lose or draw, we want to see attacking football. If we'd have lost yesterday 3-0, but we fucking absolutely run all over that pitch, there wouldn't be an issue. And I think that with people trying to sanitize the club, it's produced everything down and potentially made the players a little bit soft. And then all of a sudden, now we're starting to get a voice. Now you're starting to get the Boo Boys back out, because we've always talked about the Boo Boys. They're not something new. They've been something around for forever and a day. And now all of a sudden, when people aren't performing, they're getting it to a level. I don't agree with all of it. I'm not saying, the booing of Gary Rowett at Norwich, or the booing of, Alex with Neil Harris at Oxford and whatnot. I'm not saying I agree with everything with it, but surely if you pay your money, you're allowed an opinion. And if you want to make that opinion heard, that's what you do. So what I'm saying is football on a player side got a little bit softer than what really it should be? Shouldn't they be able to take some abuse if they're playing like dog shit?
Yes.
Just quickly, mate. Respectfully, to these players, I think it's toxic or not. I couldn't give a flying fuck what they think. I could not care less. I'm paying 500 quid a year to be there and watch them. I waste every single Saturday watching for the last 4 or 5 years, watching some of the worst football I've ever seen under consecutive managers playing terrible football that didn't resonate to what we are as a football club and who we are as fans. So if every now and then you get a little bit of stick whilst you're on 10k a week, I'm not going to feel too sorry for him, mate. I couldn't care less. You know where to go. If you don't like it, just leave. Couldn't care less.
It's not as easy as that, though, is it? Because it's down to the club if they want to sell you or not. You can't just, you can put in a transfer request, but it's not like me or you in a job, us three in a job where we are now. If we're not happy, we could go find another job. But when you're a professional footballer, you've got to bank on the fact that another club actually wants you. Because if they don't want you, then you ain't going anywhere. It's as simple as that.
Then shut up and get on with it. Because we ain't going to change them, and we shouldn't be expected to.
See, this is where it is. And me and Stephen have had big battles with this in the past, where my thinking is you're a professional football player. You should be able to technically play anything that you're told to do, whether that be in a system of 5-3, 5-3-2-1, 4-4-2, 4-3-2-1, whatever way the system is, you should be able to play in that system if you're a player, right? Yes, I'm not saying that if you're a defender that you should be playing as a striker. I'm saying in and around the positions you're doing. The problem being is that you watched yesterday's game, and it's something what I've raised over a couple of games now. But yesterday's game was a prime example. The new boy Connolly had the ball. He was open, right? Mm-hmm. Fair enough, he was open on the on that right hand side, or left hand side, whichever way. Where in Colblow Lane, I would say the right hand side, right? None of the older players were passing to him. They kept passing amongst themselves and throwing back. Even Tango was fucking screaming at people to go, they're open. And he was screaming at a lot of people all the time to go, look, they're open, they're open. And we're not passing to these news. It happened with Langstaff. It's happened with the Serb. It's happened with, with the youngsters and stuff. We're not playing. And it just points us in, is there something there what we don't know about? We keep getting told, the dressing room's great. But it can't be that great if you've got players coming out on the pitch and playing like that, because I'm not being funny. I could pick 11 people off this audience and us and go out and do a game, and we would have probably played a little bit fucking better than what we did yesterday against Hull. At least with a little bit more passion. We might not have been fucking ballers, but I think we would have played with a bit more passion than what they did yesterday.
Whatever players are moaning about the atmosphere and how toxic it may or might not be, however offended they think they were, I can guarantee you they were less offended than I was sitting in the stand watching it. So I think that's the end of that for me, to be honest, mate, because it was appalling.
Yeah, see, look, there it is there. Look, the Millwall TV one was 4 to 5 minutes, right? And the one we listened to yesterday, Stephen, was 14 and a half minutes?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean.
I must admit, I've got to say the thing with the criticism. If you're an elite athlete, and they're elite athlete, they are okay. They're not the top, but that's what they are. You're professional sportsmen. You're playing at a very reasonable standard of football. You have to be able to take criticism. You just have to be able to take it. You can't just go, oh, I don't like it. I'm going to throw my toys out the pram. That's not how it works. It doesn't happen at any level of sport. Golf, cricket, football, tennis, rugby, whatever. The problem is for me, we are a football club who are we're proud of who we are. We're proud of where we come from. We're proud of our roots, what we do for charity, what we do for our own. It's really, it means something to a Millwall fan to be a Millwall fan. We all do it for our own reasons. You know, a lot of people in the chat will go because their dad does. That's why I go. I love going with him, and I'm sure there's other people the same. And we all know that we would go out there, given the opportunity, and run our nuts off for 90 minutes every single week and give everything we've got. Okay, we might not have the ability, but we would try. We've got players at the moment, to me, whether they're new or old, we've got players that are, in my opinion, just basically fed up of of what they're being asked to do. In my opinion, they just are. We've been asked to play negative defensive football for so long. I just don't really see, you know, someone like, for example, Ivanovic. Why have we brought a 19-year-old kid to the club who's raw, who's got talent, to just use him as basically a battering ram in the Championship? He doesn't want to do that. You can tell. Neil did allude to it and say that he's not a target man. And I don't think he's good in the air, but I don't think he's a target man. Ivanovic.
Yeah, but even what's his name said yesterday, and what we heard yesterday from the press conference, even Alex Ray turned around and said he's not a target man, he's a runner.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he's asked to do it. Tom Bradshaw was the same. Bradshaw got a load of criticism from all of us, and he did. But for 4 years, the bloke was asked to jump up against 6'3" centre backs. We're not getting the best out of our players. I don't agree with the comment about that. I think if certain players are you know, brought into play in a certain system. For example, Joe Bryan is not an out and out left back. He would be more of a wing back, and I think that's why he gets found out. But we're just a club at the moment where the fans are just waiting for something to happen. We've been waiting since that season we almost got to the playoffs. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and we just don't get it. We just don't get it anymore. And you turn up. I turn up at games of football, right? And I sit around with some really great people. We have a great chat before the game, after the game. The football side of it, the life is being sucked out of this football club. We don't have exciting players. We don't have the players that we used to have, you know, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe some of our older listeners that, you know, that I wasn't around in the 80s to see the promotion team, but we don't have those sort of teams anymore. We're just buying and playing these generic players that don't have anything about them.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
I think
and it's not right.
This has been going on and
for years. This isn't new.
I completely agree. I think this all comes back to the thing of we had to make a change, and this is what we've had to change the structure and the recruitment model, because if it was working previously, the way we was previously doing it, getting players like Bennett and all them sort of guys, do it forever. Fair enough. That had stopped working. Hence why we're here now. And this has been, as you said, this has been crap for years, and it has to change.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree with what Matt Webster said. That football is woke. I tell you, where is it? Where is it? There's a point there. There's a couple of points there, I suppose. One which was where are we? Hang on. Where is it? I've lost it. Where the fuck is it now? John Pellet. There we go. John says fans singing "Let him die" when Honeyman was injured was disgusting.
I don't agree with that. To be fair,
I don't.
I think it was banter, but yeah, I'm not saying it's
not
right.
to one of your own. Not to one of your own.
No, I think and I think that's where we're getting with it though, because the problem is that week in, week out, we have debates on here week in, week out. We keep telling him Honeyman is not a fucking number 10, right? He's not an attacking midfielder. He's a defensive midfielder. But if you play him in the right position, he's going to do better for you. And the problem is that I think, again, because we don't have the right players, we've not had the director of football format, and I know people don't like, but the director of football format will go, right, we are a 4-4-2, a 4-3-2-1 style team. This is what these are what the players we're going to buy for. These are what it is. As in, the problem we've had before is that someone might want to play 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 4 at the back, whatever, but we don't buy the players to suit one particular style. And the players, what you said before, Stephen, is that they don't end up be able to play, if we play 3 at the back, then obviously Danny Matt might not get a game. If we play 5 at the back, he will. 4, we don't know. So, I mean, I think we've not recruited correctly going forward. But, you know, I don't know. Look, Steve Taylor hit my point what I said earlier, right? Remember the time we played Birmingham, we lost 6-1 because we were trying and grafting. We were applauded off the pitch, 100%. That is what I'm saying to you. If the players just fucking go, listen, treat each game as an individual game. Go out there and fucking just smash it up and go out there and try. The fans will back you. They won't be cutting you off. They're going to cut you off when we watch games like we did yesterday, which is probably the worst game we've ever seen, you know, over this season. And the fact of that no one seems to be running back. I mean, I would sit there and say that goal they scored started by Scallion just being out of position and being 2 yards off his man, allowed him to get the run. And then basically the goal went in off a deflection off Cooper, own goal. Thank you very much. There you go. There's the goal. And that was enough. That goal come in, they fucking settled down. Their manager was playing dirty tactics. I mean, what the fuck was their player doing off the field? And he was arguing with the ref. What the fuck was the ref doing, stopping play to leave the pitch to go talk to their manager?
Because referees are dog shit and referees are fucking weak and don't understand the game they're refereeing. But if we're talking about Millwall here, the biggest thing that annoyed me yesterday in that second half, we had 1 yellow card that second half. We were absolutely terrible. We were losing since what, from the 55th minute, whatever it was. And one player got booked for a little bit of a kick out. At no stage anyone smash someone or get stuck in or do something to try and get people off their feet and try and get the crowd involved. It was so frighteningly flat. It was cowardice. It was absolutely
I have to say, the
spineless
new boy
shit from the
Connolly
same
did
men.
give it a go. And also, you know, as much as everyone wants to cut him off, I think Langstaff actually looked as if he wanted to try and do something. And, you know, that volley would come in, what he hit and went over. I mean, to be fair, that was probably offside anyway if it had gone in. But at least the 2 new boys or the 3 new boys will come on, at least wanted something about it. I mean, Baz says there, look, you know, Mickey, there's no structure or pattern of play. Under Harris, it was one way and one way only, defend and smash it up into the air. And again, why the fuck do we keep... Yesterday, we had the ball, we kicked it all the way back for it to come up. And I was sitting there and I saw Alex Neil's face just dropped, but it was like, fuck's sake. You know what I mean? We had the ball. Why are we kicking it all the way back for it to just be blasted all the way up and go out of play? What's the fucking point in that?
This is what I was saying earlier. I turned up yesterday at the ground and we're sitting having a chat, and the team sheet come up. There is no way in hell that we were ever going to score a goal yesterday. It just wasn't going to happen unless something out of the ordinary happened, a deflection, a penalty, you know, a wonder goal, something like that. Look, we could do hours and hours on this. I'm sure the listeners, you know, could are having conversations in WhatsApp groups or at the game. We are a football club, as I said earlier. We're proud of who we are. We're proud of where we come from, but we want to see a team go out there and give us everything. But we also want to see our team play some form of attacking football, get the crowd involved. Everybody talks about Rowett, Neil, Edwards, Harris, although Harris did get it, to be fair, talk about using the den. How did Alex Neil think that by putting that team out yesterday was going to use the den's crowd? Because I can assure you it was never going to work. Never ever going to work. And that's where that is an issue. Whether Alex Neil can solve that with when we get players back, Marku might get you off your seat, Aziz might get you off your seat. Okay, we're missing players, but you still have to go, even if you've got injuries, you know, that all the teams get injuries, you still got to go out there and try and score a goal, get the crowd involved, try and attack, do something different. But instead it's just the same old static, no movement. No one wants to take a risk. No one wants to try and be that match winner. It's just dull. It is just dull.
Simon B's hit on it here, and I firmly agree with what he says here. Simon B from Twitter, right? So if you are watching on Twitter, we do get your comments here, yeah? Simon B says, remember, most of the players down tools to get rid of Edwards. They are now there going to most likely get replaced. They need to be replaced now.
Big time.
And I think that's the problem nowadays, is that the players the manager and whatnot don't necessarily have the player. I mean, you look across the football pyramid And if the players don't like a manager, they will fucking do whatever they can to fuck it, and they will go. It's as simple as that. I agree with Danny. This should have happened 5 years ago. Some of your comments, what are coming in, I'm not necessarily putting them up, but I will come back to them in a little while with it, and go from there. So yeah.
What I would say, and this is really, I'm really clutching at straws here, and I'm trying to have a little bit of a positive spin on this. We still have about 2 weeks left of the transfer window,
and I think we're going to get some in.
Yeah, I do.
We haven't got a choice, mate.
I really believe that there are players coming in areas that we desperately need them. Okay, it might not be the millions of pounds signing, but I believe attacking players will be coming through the door. Other players to come back into the squad as well. It's not like we're 2 days from the window panicking. There is a bit of panic, and I get that. I really get that. But there is still time for them to rectify this issue. And just, I don't know about you two, and I'll ask this question directly to you and the listeners. If this week, I know he's been widely mentioned across socials, Theo Asgard from Wigan seems to be a name that is popping up all over the place. If we were to sign someone like that, would it give you a little bit of excitement that they're at least identifying someone in a position that we desperately need? Would it give people some confidence? Because it would for me. It really would for me. You could see what they're trying to do.
All right.
Sorry, mate, just to clarify,
one sec. On that, yeah, Stephen, and one for the chat. So put it in. You got 12 to 15 million pounds to spend. Who are you bringing in? Right, that's your money. That's what you got to spend. Who are you bringing in? That's a simple question. I mean, throw in the chat. Let us know. It was a question put out on Twitter earlier. I can't think who put it out now. So it is linked on here, and I did say that we would talk about it. He mentioned that player you mentioned and a couple of others, but you got 12 to 15 million. How many players are you bringing in, and who are you bringing in? Open over to you. Go on, Frankie.
Just on Steven's original question, are you saying we identified him as a target, or we got him through the door? Because if we identified him and don't get him, I couldn't care less.
But no, I mean, if we've identified him as a player we want and we sign him, and you can say, right, we can see where we're going, would that be a signing that would excite you?
Yeah, big time. Is someone that when me and Jay did our video earlier on in the window, we talked about signings. Is someone that we both agreed was a top talent in that league. So big time. It wouldn't be enough, though, in my opinion. I think we need to get him and another one.
I think Jay's...
Teddy's put two that I would name just on your question, Mick. I'll be after Poku and Asgard. I think Louis Barry's a bit of a pipe dream. I think the whole championship's after
Louis
him.
Barry will be alone. If we get Louis Barry, it will be alone, and it will be down to relationship between Gallen and agents, or Gallen and club. That's what it will be down to if we get him. Because I mean, I'm in a championship group with a load of other guys, and they're all talking about silly money offerings. So, Hull's offered 5 million for him and all this, and Villa don't want to sell him. Villa want a loan, but Villa will obviously want him out loaned for him to play. And realistically, out of everyone out there, he will get game time with us. And I think that's the benefit. If he can get game time, then we stand a chance of getting him. Do I think we get him? I've got no idea. But if we get him and we get Asgard and we get Poku, that would be a brilliant bit of business. But will that stop the people fucking still going after Gallen and the board and the club and everything? Probably not. But
you can't please everyone.
No, you can't. God, Stephen, you're waving. You got a point.
Yeah, I think there's a few people saying about that need proven championship players. You need, Barry's not. He's only done it in League One, etc. But if you look at most of the players we've ever signed, how many players have we ever signed from, proven at whatever level? They've always been from a League One, from a League Two, from a free transfer here and there. I don't necessarily agree with that, because Aziz is a prime example. Again, someone who's been proving me wrong most of the season. Signed from League One, okay, started a bit shaky, and he did. There's no getting away from that, but he's turn into what looks like a good signing. You can find them. I just think there's a lot of names in football. There's a lot of people that are playing Football Manager and FIFA. I am a FIFA player myself, but you've got to remember that it's not just a case of anymore of you want to play. We all want to sign a player, so they're going to turn up. That's not how it works. Managers don't want to come here. It's obvious that Robbins didn't want to come here because he's ended up somewhere else, and it's the same for players. The players have to want to be here, and if they don't, they won't come. So I think you have to be realistic in that sense, which is why, again, going back to, there are clubs in League One that have got some very, very good players that we should be looking at and taking. Peterborough, a prime example of that. They seem to produce players every single season.
100%. East Block's got a great point. East Block off Twitter, the East Block has got a fantastic point here to a degree, right? And I see where he's coming at the beginning part, so stick with it, right? Don't just jump on it from the first bit, right? So East Block says, am I the only person that didn't think yesterday was that bad? We missed chances, yes, but there was more football played on the floor and a couple of decent patterns of play. The problem is we have a spine of the team that is so deeply rooted in a style of football that they have to leave for us to progress. I think that's spot on.
But does that not you said earlier, Mickey, that the players should be able to play in any style of football, but if they're deep rooted in one, then I don't.
We know who he's talking about. It's all the players what have been here for the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and it's about.
Oh, he's not wrong.
It's about time they go. What I'm saying is that I don't think you could get rid of everyone overnight. I think you've got to look at start getting rid. But most of those, their contracts up. Something what Jay said about all the players out of contract, get rid of them. I think players like Danny Mack can do a job for us. But I think players like Wallace and Hutch probably had their time here. Honeyman. The only reason he's being played where he is because he fucking runs around and chases down balls. Is he the best person to be putting in the position he is? No, but who else are you going to put there at the moment with all the injuries? So the geezer's fucked. He's fucked if he does, and he's fucked if he don't.
Anyone we do sign on that's currently out of contract need to sign on under understanding, if you're a Savile, that you're going from a starter to you might come on for 10 minutes if you're winning the game to shore it up. That your role in the squad's going to dramatically change. And if they can't get on board with that, then we don't sign them.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll let at least 6 of them go.
LH, I thought Savile is having a bit of a sulk. He didn't look right. Honeyman working hard is a bit of a myth. What more is odd, unfit, and part of the team. Yeah. Michael, is true Millwall fashion. We sign a 10, Aaron Connolly, and play him on the left, and then we bring a left winger on, Bangor Williams, and play him in the 10. He doesn't. He looked decent there. I don't think. There, to be fair,
I don't think. Just on that, I don't think. But I don't actually know where Bangura William. I must admit, I don't know where his actual position is. I don't think he's a winger. I think it was needs must in the cup against Dagenham. That's why he was where he was. I'm not convinced he's a winger, but I do agree with the principle with Connolly. With Connolly, that if you're gonna play him, you've got to at least play him in his proper position.
I think on the press conference, what he did yesterday, he sat there and said, "What is it?" He said, "Femi's injured." He said Connolly was only on the pitch for one day, when he on the grass for one day. Langstaff on the pitch for one day. A few of the players what we're playing were on the pitch for one day. I don't think Danny's over his injury yet, but because of injuries, he was on the bench. He didn't come on, but he was on the bench. I think the problem you had is that he's only just literally, I think this was his first week taking training, wasn't it? I think it was his first full week of taking training and speaking to people and listening to different people. And Dan Riggs might come in and tell us, but allegedly on the training ground, they look okay. They're looking good. It's just something to do with putting them in the fucking den. They're dog shit. And honestly,
I mean, let's be honest.
Listen, if you want, we'll go out and we'll fucking purchase you some earplugs, mate. Just bung earplugs in so you can't hear the crowd. Just go out there and fucking just play.
Let's be honest. I know it's really difficult because it just comes across that we're giving Alex Neil a battering, and I'm really not trying to do that. But we were poor at Sheffield Wednesday. we were really poor at Sheffield Wednesday. How the hell we got out of there with a point, and how we managed to, that's the game we scored 2 goals in the league. I've no idea. They were bad that day. Oxford at home, we weren't particularly good. We weren't particularly good then. So I don't really buy into the whole they're good on the training pitch, because, as you say, it means it counts for absolutely sod all. You've got to do it where it counts, and they're just not doing that at the moment.
No, so there's a question for you there, Stephen. Stephen, do you think Alex Neil is listening to Liverpool?
Yes, I do. I do at the moment. Whether or not he comes away from that, because he said, didn't he? He was heavily reliant on Dave Livermore for the first 2 games because he wasn't able to take training. So I do think there's a little bit in that, yeah. But I think he will start to come away from that, though. I think he'll start to form his own opinions. He's got, obviously, his assistant manager with him, so I think that will change. But for now, yes.
Yeah, no, I do.
What I would say in Neil's defence, I do think his time so far has been a struggle, and I know you're not digging him out, to be fair. I think very much like Edwards, Neil is probably going through a process right now where he's sitting on a training ground, realising that some of these players are an absolute steaming pile of shit, mate. And whatever he thought he could do with them, it is just not going to happen. And he needs to. He'll figure that out. And again, like Edwards did, he's probably already cottoned on. You ain't the one. You ain't the one. You ain't the one. You ain't the one. And like Edwards did, you're then going to sit there and go, right, that's half your squad. That ain't good enough.
I mean,
and then you come to an impasse.
I spoke to before the cup. I spoke to an ITV pundit, not the pundit, the guy who did the matches, yeah, not the fucking idiots who don't like us. The guy who actually did the match commentary, and I think you spoke to Omar as well, and he just said to me, he just wanted to know about Millwall, what's going on, etc. He said, why are you not scoring goals? I said, it's simple. I said, you watch the games you're watching. I said, we're not using the midfield. We're not bringing the ball forward. We're just literally getting it at the defensive line, and we're just lobbing it up the top, and then we might have it for 1 or 2 touches, and then we lose it. The problem is we're not being able to create a pattern of bringing the ball from the back to the front, and the only way you're going to do that is on the floor. We've got players who can do it, but for some known reason, it's either we pass back to the keeper and keeper fucking skies it up the pitch, or we just fuck it up. And if we could have that midfield to be able to liaise with defence, and then midfield, defence liaise with midfield liaise with the strikers, and be able to put balls in and put balls on the floor, we'll probably be able to score goals. I mean, let's go into this one for a second. We got this. This was on YouTube earlier, I think, I think it was on JP Millwall, I think. So these are player stats for Millwall. Honeyman, 3 goals in 96 appearances. Watmore, 11 goals in 73 appearances. Amarku, 1 goal in 36 appearances. Langstaff, 1 goal in 27 appearances. Has he played that many games? Fucking hell. Coburn, 2 goals in 7 appearances. Ivanovic, 3 goals in 18 appearances. Aziz, 1 goal in 23 appearances. Saville, 17 goals in 200 appearances. Mitchell, 1 goal in 143 appearances. Casper, 2 goals in 60 appearances. Ryan Leonard, 5 goals in 105 appearances. JB, who's JB?
Joe Bryan,
2 goals in 49 appearanrances. No, that makes.
Can I just say?
Reading.
Can I just say, and I'm not digging out any of the listeners whatsoever here, but there was a few comments earlier where they said that Fleming wasn't good enough, right? Fleming wasn't good enough, and fine, he was crap in the second half of the season. But how many goals did Fleming score in 2 seasons for us? Was it 24? He got 16 one year and 8 the other. He got about 24 goals in 2 seasons. Now you look at them stats in more detail, and you just see how far ahead he was of any of those players that we've still got at the club. And this is what I was saying earlier. It's really great.
What more scores 4 of them this 5 of them this season?
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. The numbers are horrific. I mentioned off air, and maybe this is a good time to come into it, Mickey, about our struggle scoring goals.
No, you can't say what we did last night, mate. Can't put that out there.
we're the lowest scoring team in the championship. Okay, admittedly, it's by 1 goal, but we're the lowest scoring side in the division. We score less than a goal a game, which is, and it doesn't take a rocket. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm looking at the stats. We've seen how the games go. We all know where the issue lies. We all know where it lies. It's clearly scoring goals. But what I don't understand is how so many different managers have had the same problem. It's been Harris, to be fair, in games, we did create a few chances, but he did also have games where we created very little. So it was very much chalk and cheese. But nobody is looking at it going, even the director of football, surely he must be sat there thinking, well, I know where the problem is. 15,000 people who turn up in the ground, or however many it was yesterday, know what the problem is. It's just, I don't know. It just baffles me that no one's been able to identify it and change it. 24 goals in it so far.
People have, but people haven't been given the opportunity and the time and the money to actually see it out to completion. We won't talk about it.
I think that's it. And I've said this before on plenty of shows. I honestly don't think that in the time that Kavanagh was here, we got to January, February, where we were starting to crack on, and he just didn't invest, and he didn't look to push on, because I think he didn't actually want us to get promoted. So it was always that we'd keep the journeyman, keep the same run-of-the-mill players around, so that at least then they knew that we weren't going anywhere. Because it is going to cost. If we go up, you're probably looking at it's got to be an investment instantly of about £5-10 million to upgrade the stadium, because the stadium is nowhere near ready for Premiership. And the fact that you're going to lose half the car park and you do this and do that. But it's better for the club, even if we get one.
Can I just hold on a minute?
Sorry. Problem to invest 10 million, you've just got £100 million in the bank. What a disaster.
And also, let's be honest, we're talking about getting the ground ready for Premier League football. The way we're going, we'll be preparing the ground for League One football. We're talking. Alex Neil made a quote. I don't know the exact quote, and someone might be able to find this for me. But he said yesterday something along the lines of, "We're making assets, and that's the direction of the club that we're going in."
Yeah, but that comes from a question what was very leaded in, and that was a question what come in, I think, from Richard Cowley, where it was worded in a way. And I wish I had it fucking here, because I play it. And in fact, I might just clip it and play it out on socials. It was worded in a way that basically said, you're now looking to create assets to sell. And Alex Neil replied to that and said, we're not looking to create assets to necessarily sell. We're looking to create assets what become value going forward. And that's the problem.
Right, okay.
That's where we've been. I mean, we've had players like Bradshaw. And fuck me, Gallen needs a medal to be able to actually, that he got a fee for Bradshaw. But when you've got players like Bradshaw, Cooper, I mean, how many years ago was it? Not many years ago that we were talking about Cooper being potentially 5-6 million to Rangers. Nothing. We're not going to get anything from him now.
Can I just say, right? My point is, and you're right about those players, but I couldn't care less about having assets right now at this time, at this exact moment in time. We need to be winning games of football. We've won one game in the league in the last 10, 11, something like that. I don't, it might even be even more than that under obviously different managers and caretaker, etc., whatever. The talk of assets, and we're in January, I get it, but we've got to be winning games of football. That's the priority.
I think what we're misunderstanding with the assets, I think what the terminology is for the assets, I don't think we're a fucking venture capitalist overnight. I think what they mean by assets is buying players that are younger. So literally looking at, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old players rather than buying 27, 28, 29-year-old players. I think that's what they mean by assets. It's not we're going to buy and we're going to fucking develop, and we are going to develop and bring them forward. But I think that's what they're meaning by assets rather than we're going to buy a 27 or 28-year-old journeyman who's not necessarily going to fucking give us any return. We're going to spend 5 million on him, but he's not going to give us any return. When realistically, it will be better. For instance, say use Barry for example. We spend 5 million on Barry, and the fact that he's young and he's going to do a lot more going forward, then there's a potential profit, because for so long. You look at it realistically, the Berylsons, and I'm going to have to catch up with these comments in a minute, so do apologise, do stick with us. I'm starring a lot, so we will come back to them. The Berylson family have put in, since their time here, probably best part, and I said it on the other show, they put in best part of 150, 160 million pound. And the problem was that they own nothing. So they don't own any decent players until obviously the two what have just been sold. They don't own the ground. They don't own the training ground. We bought a big plot of land, what is fucking going to trash us on the youth academy setup because it puts us out of South East London remit. You're looking at, we've had a regen when I started AMS fucking 10 years ago, and we're still now finally signing off the lease, and nothing in the world has actually started being built on the regen yet. Nothing on renewal. The only difference is that renewal now owns the Millwall CAF and the fucking car places down there and all that lot. They now brought up most of them and they now fucking rent them off to other people. That's probably the only difference. Other than that, there's no difference on the regen. It's not moved forward, but it will move forward now. And I think that now that James Berylson's in, that's now got signed off and that's moving forward. And then you're looking at actually with the new plan, potentially we're going to get money into the club, and it looks as if actually Millwall something can we move forward. But
can I just say, can I just say, and I'm pretty sure the listeners and I'm pretty sure both of you guys are going to agree with me when I tell you this, right? Yesterday, Alex Neil was asked a question about assets after our 6th home defeat of the season. We have the 17th. We're 17th in the table in terms of our home record this year, right? Why are we talking about making assets when we are in a position we are in the league?
We're not. It's the media.
We're asked about it. We're asked about it. So if anything, it's a little bit.
No, not us.
It's a little bit snide that they're asking that question on the back of a shitty
Absolutely. It is down to the journalist. But what I'm saying is that those are the comments that get posted online. They are the comments that the supporters are seeing. I saw it on Twitter, the quote about the assets, and it just pissed me off because I'm thinking, I don't care about that right now. I care that we as I said, we actually are higher in the away form. Okay, we haven't got as many points, but it's done on how many points you've earned in total away from home. We're higher in the away table than we are at home. The focus has got to be how we start winning games, at least at the Den, because a home record, we've won the same amount of games that we've lost at home, and to me that's just not good enough, and the focus needs to be on the football side of things, not assets. That's me personally,
right? The thing is what it seems to have got lately, right? And I agree where you're coming from here, right, Stephen, right? The thing is what it got lately, right? And I think that the news at Den and Will at Southwark News is slowly asking questions what we probably want, and I speak to them and whatnot. I think the problem is that you've got people who used to have friends here and everything else, but the questions are still fucking leading. There is so many, there's so much agenda and whatnot thrown towards Gallen and all that. And all I'd say is, listen, right, give him his fucking time, and in a year and a half's time or 2 years' time, if he's dog shit, then he goes. He's dog shit, right? But at least we've had an ample amount of time. Don't fucking cunt the geezer when he's only been in 2 minutes. And there seems to be a massive thing, like the questions being loaded at him yesterday by certain journalists yesterday, and listening to it, and you can hear it. And the problem is that even he was picking it up, going, well, you know, that's not really the question, is it? That's just, you're just being a little bit snidey there with the question you're asking. It should be the X, Y, it should be this. This is why I absolutely believe that club like Millwall, I really, really, really do not know when you have us, Actor Millwall, you've got fucking Chapsy's show, you've got fucking Lions TV, you've got Millwall Tube, you've got fucking the Millwall Drive Home with TT and everyone else. You've got 6 or 7 good and all different shows. Why the fuck won't you invite us in to fucking watch the press conference and be able to ask questions? Why do you want us to have media accreditation to be able to get into the building? To me, it's just crazy. Why won't you send us the press release? Why won't you send us, you know, the press conference and everything else for us to be able to play out on our shows and whatnot and how we want to play it out? Because we're the ones who know the club inside out. We're the ones who have all the fans. We're the ones who, in a way, are influenced and whatnot, who not control, but we have our club's heart at the foremost of what we do, right? Yet we give it to a journalist who's going to spin it just to create, to make sure that their article gets the most likes.
Bearing in mind
that is the big thing. Sorry, Frankie, go on.
He would, John, mate, we'll probably say the exact same thing. Any self-respecting journalist will know that it will take 2 minutes on Twitter to realise as a fan base we're not particularly aligned on the club's vision and the direction the club's going. So as a journalist, you're not going to sit there and ask. You're not going to ask a comfortable question, are you? It's about the game and go, "Oh, that's a tough one. What do you reckon?" You're going to ask a question that gets people in your article, and asking a bollocks little question about that will get people will get people wound up and talking. It's exactly what they want.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody. The prime example the other day, I'm not going to mention the kid, right? Because he is a kid and he's had piles on Twitter and everything else, right? He wants to go into journalism and he's trying to be a journalism. He released a story the other day, what basically said, Millwall chairman says this on a player on I think it was Essay or someone going, right? No one he didn't speak to a chairman. He spoke. He quoted an ex-chairman, which was Jeff Bell. What's his surname?
Burnage.
Right, and it wasn't even a proper quote. It was just things. So what he's done through one story, he's dropped fucking loads of people under the bus. He's then sat there and put a comment what he read in another paper and quoted it as a comment from Paul Robinson about a player, the keeper, what left, who went out on loan. And you're like, mate, you've got our own doing shit like this, but clickbait and all of that lot. I mean, we could clip parts of the show and make it look fucking as controversial as shit, right? For likes and retweets and fucking everything else. But who does that benefit? Well, so we get a few likes and a few retweets and a few comments. We could be like the second tier podcast or people like that who just point bullshit stories to get a reaction. I'd rather listen to your reactions properly and have a decent, chat and be constructive around it than listen to bollocks and just post shit for the sake.
But the problem is what you just said there, and everyone does it. Everyone's looking for that funny tweet, the viral tweet, the one that gets the accounts noticed. Look, we are a podcast, and let's be honest. We be honest and transparent as we always try to be. We want people to watch the podcast. We want people to comment. We want people to like. Journalists want people to click on their articles. They want people to be going onto their websites and getting their numbers up. That's just how the world works at the moment. Unfortunately, when if things are going really well, had we have been in the top 6, okay, and we'd lost SA, it'd have been a blow. But you're talking about assets. You go, oh yeah, the club's moving forward. It's going really, really well. We've got this plan. We've got that. They put that comment out after a horrific performance on a horrific run of form. What do they expect? The players are moaning that the fans have got the ump and they're slagging them off and they're criticising them. Yet we're being fed utter gump from journalists that are doing their job. They're just doing what they're paid to do. But it riles everybody up. It pisses people off because ultimately football fans want to know, are we bringing in players? Are we losing any more players? And how are we going to be winning games of football? They don't care about assets. That will come later down in the future and the long-term plan. And I understand that. But right now, football matters as what matters. And that seems to be being pushed aside. And I don't like that.
No, and do you know what? Listen, there's a load of you, Vermin MFC, and someone else has sat there and said it and all of that lot. I mean, Michael said it and all that. I honestly believe that they should scrap paywall for Millwall FC, right? The money you probably make from that is so fucking minimal, it's unbelievable. You buy a season ticket or a membership, you have access to it. Or even more, fucking get rid of it, right? Because what's the point? Why are you charging fans who are already paying enough money into the club? And some people who buy a season ticket can barely afford to buy that season ticket. Realistically, they can't afford to put it out, but they buy it because it makes coming to see Millwall cheaper for them and on the period of time. So reward those people. Don't fucking shaft them. Why shaft them? Just absolutely fucking repay that loyalty by giving them access to the thingy. Yes, Frankie.
I just think at the moment, as I say, you know, football. We love our club. Everybody that's watching this, apart from the gentleman from Yorkshire who's just been banned, everybody wants to see Millwall do
any of his thing. Oh, Simon Lee. Okay, yeah. I didn't see. Was it bad?
No, it's just being Leeds, isn't it?
Really funny stuff, mate. All really, really funny stuff. Really good, really good comedy for me, mate.
Yeah, no worries.
But everybody wants to see the club do well. That's just what we do. That's why we go. That's why we're passionate about it. That's why I'm sat here talking about this with you two guys. It just, as I say, football. Someone put earlier that football has gone woke, and honestly, you cannot. I cannot. I think that's the most agreeable comment of the night, because football is not what it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm not saying that we want to be, you know, we want to go back to those times. What I'm saying is that the world revolves around who can break a story first, who can get the first snippet of a transfer, you know, who's going to post the best transfer video of announcing their player. It's rubbish. It's absolutely rubbish. I just want to go to football and see my team compete, and at the moment we're not seeing that.
It is funny though. I have to admit that it is funny with some of the stuff what goes out there, and I know that some of the stuff, you know, certain journalists who fans turn to and go, oh, you know, in this we trust and all that. Some of them, the later ones now, what are getting some of that applauded. Some of the stuff they're putting out is completely out of bollocks, and some of it's so far behind the game. You know, it's sort of like, you know, when we're saying, oh, you know, this person's going to be having a medical, and you're thinking, well, they've already had a medical, so, you know, but we don't put everything out because we find out stuff. We don't necessarily always do it because sometimes it ruins it. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's the experience of waiting for the club to announce and go, you know, it's like SA. Everything was out there. I mean, Richard Nixon and the other geezer put it out fucking 4 weeks ago purely so he could say that he broke the story. But, you know, it's sort of like, it's done. Let me just one go on, Steve.
Well, while you're doing that, there's a friend of the show who did a Who Are You with me, Andrew Fleming. Mick, I don't know if you remember him. He was one of the first to do the Who Are You with me, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying. I don't know if he's listening now or if he's going to watch this back. I hope he does. But he listens to a lot of the shows, and as I say, a fan of a friend of the show. He consistently tweets me after games about my opinion and other fans as well. A lot of people might have him on Twitter. His biggest complaint, and it is so true, Millwall's Twitter page, they don't do hardly any updates anymore. There was a game a couple of weeks ago where in 45 minutes of football, they posted 2 tweets. It's just everything. How you want to talk about engaging the supporters, and you want to talk about encouraging people and getting people excited. Everything it's not good enough.
I could tell you some stories.
It's not good enough.
Making people remove comment sections on pages and everything else because certain people who were here and no longer here within the club didn't like, and they're not management. They were not on the playing staff, but on the management team who didn't like the comments and didn't like this and do that. And my point is this, right? We pay our money, right? As long as we're not fucking making threats, we're not racist, we're not fucking damn right fucking like aggressively rude as such, yeah? As in calling someone a cunt is fine, mate. I've been called it enough times on comments and enough times on thingy, mate. I'm a big boy, I can take it, right? It's different than saying that you're going to turn up at their work or do this or do that. I'm not saying that, right? But we pay our money. We should be able to say what we want, right? Within reason, right? I'm not saying racism and all that. I'm not saying that, right? But we should be able to say that if the player played shit, we should be able to say you played shit. And if we go on a comment board or anything else, or on a comment board or onto a story or on Twitter, we should be able to sit there and do it. But there is so many clubs now, right? And being in a championship group with other people, and it's happened at a lot of different clubs, that there are people what have been banned for writing nasty worded tweets about clubs. And to me, that's bollocks. The problem is that football now isn't about me or you, right? Isn't about me, you, isn't about the people in this chat. It's about money, right? And the problem is that us being fans, it's the least of their worries. Yes, buying your season ticket up front is great, but it's about, to me, you should still be treated as fans. And racking up this Millwall TV and charging ridiculous money. I said at the fans forum, right, that we should have 2 games per season, 4 mascots, what should be in John Berylson's name, a John Berylson's memorial, right, and also a Matty Sartic's memorial, where there's 2 games throughout the season where all the mascots are drawn by junior line season tickets or kids season tickets, right? Because there are some people out there what can't pay £400 or £500 to have their kids as a mascot. And there are kids out there what would fucking die to do that. Yet we've put monetary on it. We put monetary on anything and everything we can just for the sake of it. When to me, it's fucking bollocks. I'm not
would say
the fan zone I think is a great idea. I think the beer's overpriced and the food's overpriced, but I think the fan zone's a good idea because they've closed most of the pubs around the area. I can understand you want to make money that way. That's great. But make the Matchco experience better and look after your fans. The kids area.
What I would say though, we're not the only club that does it though.
I don't care.
No, but it's not. You can't just say that it's not just a Millwall thing. Millwall do it, whether or not I don't agree with it, but they do it to try and keep up with the other clubs because the other clubs are making money out of it. It's wrong.
Get your bingo cards out, right? Because when I was fan on the board, one of the biggest arguments I had, well, 2 things was one, fans going away with clubs on the pre-season, and this year it happened again, which is great. They managed to go fantastic, right? And I spoke to people when I learned that we were going, and it was fantastic, right? Great, thanks. Whether or not you listened to me or whether or not you did it off your own bat, I don't care, but it happened, which is great. I raised a query one time about how the fuck we can charge £3.50 for a sausage roll. And do you know what I got back? Everyone else in this arena, in mass participation public arena, right, like concerts and all that lot, do it. And my question was, why? Why do we need to do it? Why can't we charge £2.50 for a sausage roll? Why do we need to charge £3.50? It don't make sense. You must have the buying power because all the Twitters of clubs, all the websites, everything else are all done the same level. They're all across the same design. They're all designed exactly the same. They're all running off the same pretense and everything else. There are protocols there that you're telling me that a club like Millwall don't have buying power when they've got the EFL behind them. There must be deals. There must be procurement deals in place. Yet it's all about money. We sub out the catering so that they need to make their big percentage. Millwall wants their percentage. Everyone wants a cut. Yet it's us what has to pay for it.
What I will say is, I do.
£6.80 a pint.
Whilst I agree in principle, Mick, I do think Stephen's point of just the way it is, and I think the reality is we talk about a much wider problem here. Football fans in this country are absolutely punished for wanting to go to a football game. I just come back from Italy, and let me tell you, mate, the difference in going to a game out there to a game over here was insane. A pint costs €4. You can drink in the stand. Everyone was smoking. There was flags everywhere. People might think that the whole Palace thing's a little bit poxy, because it is, but they do it properly over there, and the atmosphere was 10 times better than anything I've seen at Millwall in the last couple of years. There weren't stewards constantly on people's back for standing places and for sitting in the wrong seat and stuff. None of it existed. You could get to a game easy. There was transport available. The whole thing was easy. The matchday ticket was €20. If you compare that to a game, and that was in Serie A, you compare that to a championship game, it's so much harder, and you're punished for being a football fan over here. And that's a wider issue, but that's probably not why we're losing games at the minute, to be fair. I don't think that's why we're not scoring goals.
I don't think it's about going bust. David Moss, it's not about going bust, right? The clubs make so much money out of everything else, mate. The fucking, the revenue what they make from gates and all that are tiny compared to what they make from everything else. And the food, if you provided good food, you'd sell more of it. If the food was good, who remembers midday matches when you used to do curry and chips? You used to get fucking chicken curry and chips, mate. Not that long ago, 5-6 years ago, you used to get, you used to get thing or chili and chips and whatnot. Chicken and chips, I think is the one, the curry chips. And it's done. There you go. Look, Luke, now £4.50 for a sausage roll. You might as well go down the end of the road when you're coming in and just buy fucking 4 sausage rolls from Greg's for that.
I think the problem is, and we've had this conversation, and Frankie's right, this kind of stuff has got nothing, doesn't have a bearing on results on the football field. It does have a bearing maybe on the fans' perception of a day at football, because it is expensive, and the game was on Sky yesterday, so people might just sit indoors and watch it on their telly rather than come to the game. That might have an impact, but again, it doesn't impact on how the team perform and how we or our state in the division. We've been behind commercially for donkey's years. We've said it. We've been behind with recruitment for donkey's years. We were talking about it earlier. The club is just playing catch up all the time, and we're consistently trying to catch our tails. And then that does lead on to the playing side of things, because we're still behind the majority of the championship. Even Oxford. Now, look, Tom Bradshaw, I mean, if anyone saw Tom Bradshaw's promotional video that they posted, anyone would think he's a world beater. He looked absolutely unreal on Oxford's Twitter page. So we've already signed him back. But Oxford have backed their manager. I'm not saying we won't. But they're backing their manager. They're bringing in players. Gary Rowett's the most full manager in the division at the moment since he's been in. He's rejuvenating the club. He's getting players in. Okay, it might not be the most fancy style of football, but he's doing his job. Alex Neil is being restricted by, in my opinion, the comments, as I say, and I'm going to keep harping back to it, the off the field stuff. Alex Neil needs his players and he needs options now. That's where we have to get to, in my opinion. We have to back him. We have to back him. Do I think he was the best choice out of all of the managers? I don't. But I don't think he's a bad manager. And I think he has the ability to get the best out of some of our players. I do. Sorry, Mickey. I do think that he will develop some younger players and we will see them in the first team. But he needs help. The club have to help it, or Gallen. I don't care who it is. They have to help him, and they've got to help him now.
Just to try and get us back on track, boys, so we can get away from
predictions for Tuesday anyway.
How many signings do you both think we need, and how many do you think we'll get? I personally think we need at least. I think we need 3 more. I think we'll probably get 2, and I'm not sure that unless they are quality signings, I'm not sure that's enough.
I think 3 to 5 we'll get.
More,
I think
total.
I think within Jan, I think we'll probably look at 3 to 5, and then I think come the summer we will fucking have a clear out. And I think
does that 3 to 5 include who we've already got?
No, I think we'll get another 3 to 5 on top, maybe 3 at least. But I think we possibly might get more and loans and buys. I don't know whether or not. The problem we've got is that everything we go. The problem we've got is something you said earlier on, Steve, is that it's all right looking at League One, League Two, but the trouble is there isn't any really good Championship players available at a realistic price for what they are, without going in and spending stupid money for them.
I'd rather spend 3.5 on someone like Asgard, who's got the potential to be very good, but might take time, rather than getting someone like Casey Palmer, who's played for every club in this country and really, in reality, ain't going to do it. And that's who we normally go for, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Cass. I think it's been put around. Asgard is probably an option. I think Louis Barry is another option. I think there's been a few people reporting on various places. Pokar and people like that. So again, it is what it is. I think we just got to look at it and let it go and see what's what. I mean, I wouldn't say anyone we've signed recently has been absolute dog shit. Would you? I think they haven't been played in positions what they need to play, and I think the rest of the team around them, they weren't necessarily being played in when we needed them to play. and I still go on to say, we won 4 games on the bounce, 1-0, and Langstaff and Serb were playing okay, and then all of a sudden they were dropped for the new Oxford Lionel Messi. Is what it is. Anyway, let's go on. We've fucking done too long now.
I would say on answer to your question that I think 2. I don't think 2 is enough. I think 2 will come in. I do think that they probably might want more than that, but whether or not they actually get them over the line is another. But I think there will certainly be 2 more players coming into the club. And on the signings, let's be honest, it's chop and change again. I as much as I think the players we've got, they're not above criticism, and they're not. I just think there's too much going on. There's chop and change. It was Harris. It was this. It was it's now Neil. Which there's just too much going on, and I don't personally think, and I might get slaughtered for this, I don't think we will ever see the best of Macaulay Langstaff, and this one even more controversial. I don't think we will ever see the best of Ivanovic. I think we will develop Ivanovic, and he will be sold, and then he will develop into a better player in another team. So I just don't think we're going to see the best out of those 2 players.
Collar, I think's given us the best fucking comment all night. My chihuahua is taller than Honeyman.
So, no. Sorry, mate. Did you just pass over the fact that someone said you look like Michael Van Gerwen? Because that is fucking quality.
It's not the first time it's been said. So if it was original, I would think
that's the first time I've seen it, mate.
Yeah, Stephen, how many times has that happened?
I don't know.
I've had videos sent to me, mate, on Twitter and everything, mate. So yeah, it's there. So yeah. Somebody comments is there. Right, let's start talking about Cardiff. What's your views? What makes you say we get 3 to 5 players in? We've never done that in a transfer window. Because I just think we need them. I think Alex Neil knows that we need them. I think there's quite a few players being put round. We've got a bundle of money, and I think that we're looking at assets to develop. We're looking at younger players, and the ones we're looking at are younger players. I mean, I've got no idea if we will or we won't. Listen, half of it's fucking wishful thinking, but we wouldn't have thought that we got the 2 players we've already got in. I wouldn't have said that we would have thought we would have got the French guy or Connolly. I wouldn't have said that last season the number of players we brought, or the last window, no one thought we'd get that many, but we did. So I think it's a whole different way of thinking, and I think that there's potential. We could get 3, we could get 4, we could get none. But let's be positive and fuck off, Dan Riggs.
If we don't sign anyone, well, we might as well just. There's no point talking about Cardiff. We might as well just give up now.
Anyway, let's talk about Cardiff because we need it for the rest of the show to end with. Let's be positive. How many do you think Cardiff's going to beat us by on Tuesday, Stephen? And what team do you think is going to be put out there? There's an interesting team on Twitter earlier. Did you see that?
About
Twitter on who they're put out for Cardiff. And it was an interesting team. Where are we?
While you're looking for that, honestly, and Frankie, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but unless Aziz is fit,
he's not.
Which, by all accounts, he's not going to be. Realistically, I honestly can see us putting the same team out on. We shouldn't, but we shouldn't.
Don't say that.
But what they're going to do? The only change is Connolly for someone. Realistically,
well, this is a team that went on Twitter earlier, right?
Do anything else. Do anything else. Just do not play Watmore home and play with 9 if you want. I could not care less.
This is the team what someone on Twitter put out earlier and said, "Fuck it, let's play with the youth and bring in pace, play with some of the kids and see where we go." And he's put basically Ivanovic, Kendall, Scallon, Mitchell, Casper, Williams, Danny Mack, Kramer, Tango, Leonard, Jensen in goal.
I just don't see it. Honestly, I genuinely, and I hope to God I'm wrong. I just think I don't see many changes unless we sign someone else, a forward, in that time. Or again, Aziz or someone, if Coburn miraculously is fit. I just don't. I can't see him. Our bench on yesterday was so uninspiring. Why is he? Maybe Bangura Williams. That's probably harsh on him. He's the one that probably might get an opportunity.
Right.
But is he really gonna? Is he really gonna throw him in to start a game after a poor result on Saturday? I just can't see it. I hate to say it, but I can't see it.
No, Connor. Harvey Price should be back on Friday, mate. With his new skin
Stephen,
flavour.
comment, mate. I agree he's unlikely to do it, but I'd like to think the reaction down the Den the other day and some of the booing that we saw during the match and some of the vocal reaction, I think his hands forced a little bit. He has to do something. He cannot put out the same 11 and expect anything else other than pitchforks after the game.
Yeah.
So on that though, I know we'd all make loads of changes, but realistically, what changes do you think Alex Neil would make?
I'd go back to a 4 at the back, so I don't think the 5 worked for a start. I think I would, if you have to pick the same players, I probably would take Honeyman out, put that Bangura Williams in the 10 if you had to, or put Conley in the 10. Watmore down one side, and maybe Mayer, or if Mayer's fit, or Scanlon down the left, but go back to the back 4 because the back 5 did not work.
But again,
and take Saville out, because I don't get me wrong, I thought Saville was better than Denor on Saturday. I thought Denor was the worst game of the season. It was absolutely shocking. But Saville looked so tired. Give the bloke a rest. Put Mitchell in.
Again, though, the problem. I agree, but those changes, do they make us more likely to score a goal?
Nothing does. But I'd rather try something else rather than do the exact same thing and know for a fact that you can have another shower shit. So I'd rather stick than I'd rather twist and stick. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I honestly think that I don't know. Put in the chat, listeners, if you go into the game on Tuesday, but honestly, it's the first time in a real long time where I just cannot. I can't see anything other than another negative evening at the Den.
Fuck off, Tony. Okay, fuck you. That's, mate. That should be banned for that. Fucking, just because you're on Monday morning already, mate, and you're having a shit day, don't fucking take it out on me. Being you're New Zealand bound, fucking Michael Van Galen is 6'4" and fucking Mickey is smaller than Honeyman. I'm going to get a picture of Honeyman, mate, next time I see him and prove that I am not shorter than Honeyman. Well, how tall is Honeyman, by the way?
Even if you are shorter.
How tall is he? How tall is he, by the way? Before I make that fucking assumption.
How tall are you, Mickey? How tall are you, Mickey?
I'm 5'11". Please fucking tell me he's 5'8".
He is 5'8".
Thank fuck for that. Yeah, Tony. I'll get an image. I'll get a photo.
I said, mate, you might be short. Even if you are shorter than him, you'll be a better number 10 than he is. So
I'm going on TikTok shop, mate, to get
mate.
those insoles you put in your trainers to make you taller too, as well. I mean, get another 3 inches, so I look a lot taller. Put your comments in the section. Put your predictions for Cardiff game. Put your predictions in, and we'll go from there. Go on, let's go, everyone. In the predictions, give us your predictions and give us what your 11 is. Go on, Frankie. What's your 11? And I'll come to you, Stephen, for your 11.
Jensen, Lenny, Tanganga, Cooper, Brian. Joe Bryan, because there's no one else really. Mitchell, Denor, Watmore.
Is there no one else?
If Aziz ain't fit, I'll play Watmore. If he is, then I'll play Aziz.
He's not fit.
So Watmore, I'll play Bangura Williams, whatever he's called. And probably Scanlon on the wing.
Even though he's a left back.
Yeah, but he can run, can't he? He can cross the ball, so he's better than everyone else we got. and then Ivanovic up top.
Stephen?
Jensen, Leonard, Tanganga, Cooper. I would actually go Scanlon at left back. If it was me, you've got to take Joe Bryan out of this side. He's just so bad. I'd probably go Casper and Billy Mitchell in the two midfielders. Duncan Watmore one side, perhaps Bangura Williams the other, and I'd go two up front. Give Langstaff and Ivanovic for me both need partners. They cannot do that. They can't. They're not lone strikers, if that makes sense. So I would go with the two up front. Get Honeyman out the firing line as well, and go that way. Do I think Neil would go two up front? I'm not sure, but that would be my thinking. And Joe Bryan, as I say, he's another one that's just going to get absolutely battered.
I think you're right. Sorry, I think you're right. It's not like I don't like being called short, right? It's madness, right? I went to the hospital one time, right, and they took my height. And I don't know, those of you who know, when you go to hospital and get your height taken, they don't do it as in 5'8". They don't like it's 5'0.8 inches or 5'10" or 5 foot things. So I'm 5'11", but when they measure it the way they measure it, they come out and say, "Oh, it's 5.8 feet," even though I'm 5'11". Well, my kids were with me when they had a machine there, right? And I done it on the machine. My kids were with me, and my kids forever since. Every time someone goes, "Oh, what's your height?" and I go, "I'm 5'11", they're like, "No, you're not. You're 5'8". You're 5'8", even though I'm fucking not 5'8". But yeah, it's done. So it's not. Listen, I don't mind abuse, mate. I can take it. I'm good.
Just a quick question on that, Mick. Was you 5'11" when you had hair? Because that might be a discrepancy, mate.
Yeah, no, I was about 6'3" then. But yeah, no, yeah, no. I've got it documented. I think I've got it documented. 6 foot and 5'11" with relatively official sources, shall we say, without going into too much detail. So with the tape measure behind your head. So I'm all right there, mate. So yeah,
there's a
really good show tonight, boys. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just going to go through them. Go on.
There's one from Ken Clark saying, "Give over about what more." Ken, if you make sure you're better, mate. I wasn't happy saying it. I just think there's no one else available. If Mayer and Aziz ain't fit, there was literally no one else. But it made me feel sick hearing the words come out of my mouth.
That's it. The Irish fella is taller than Mickey. Piss off. Spencer, I know where you fucking live, mate. You do you know what I mean? Stop with that. Cuban heels. Deary me. 1 inch wall. 5'11" in heels, Mickey. Fucking. I don't mind, mate. Do you know what I mean? I listen. This show is all about fan interaction and fan laugh, mate. I'm not going to take anything personally. I'm not going to take thingy, mate. This is all about, to me, this is just the same banter what we have down the pub, mate. And you don't get that with any other shows, do you? I'm not going to be running off crying. So yeah. And remember that if there are any bits of this show that you like, clip them, post them, mate. Do whatever you want to do. Credit back to us. Fine. I've got no issues with that, mate. You do what you want to do within reason. So, yeah. 2-0. Most of it looks as if there's a lot of 2-0, by the way. Stavel is a fucking statue.
There's not like the energy and the optimism. Like Millwall fans, we do it all the time. We go, "Oh, everybody's backs us to win," and now it's just like, you're almost turning up knowing you're going home disappointed.
Andrew Roberts says, will Cardiff be the first club to do the double over us if they win on Tuesday?
Sorry, Frankie, what did you say?
On that note, can we start doing our predictions?
Yeah, do it, mate.
I'm gonna go 1-0 Millwall. Because whenever it is this shit, whenever 100%. It is this negative, and we're all this despondent, we'll play terrible. It'll be the worst game of football you've ever seen, and the ball will come off Cooper's ass, and we'll win 1-0, and we'll be going, oh, here we go.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think we'll win 1-0.
That's it. Mickey, if you had Omar's there, you'd be 6'2". So yeah, I'm trying to get to the end of the comments, and then I'll go through the thing. Fucking 6'3" with hair. I mean, 1-0 to Cardiff, 5'11" and Hills, maybe. Fuck off. How long is Danny Mack and he's out? Danny Mack is back shortly. I think that's why he was on the bench. I think he's still got his thing, but I think Femi could be out for a couple of weeks. I think Femi could be out for a little bit longer than that. So I'm hearing. So yeah, we'll wait and see. No matter who is picked, we're playing the back foot. Peter Sullivan, Mickey is very short compared to Peter. You're a fucking giant, mate. When you sneaked up at me at the home game a couple of weeks ago, mate, you're a fucking giant. You must be about 6'6". You're massive. So yeah, and you look like I thought you would. A serial killer in waiting. He sneaked up on me, mate, and he went, "Hello," and I was like, "Hello," and he went, "I'm Peter Sullivan." And I'm fucking hell, okay. But he's massive. He's really tall. So yeah, taller than Dan Riggs. So yeah, no chance of getting Dan's. Yeah, I think you're right there. I don't think he's necessarily right for us. But
he's a striker. We don't need him. We don't need another striker.
Nah. If it was a winger, I'd have him. So yeah, we used to be bipolar. Right now, we're ready for the nut house. Proper depressing. 3-1 loss. Hill Hove. Again, I'm not that short. Fuck off with all the short jokes now. 5'11", really. Shut up, Dan. Here we go. What's taller, Mickey or that Dagger sub that come on Monday? Look at that, look. Seen you walking around the pitch, Mickey. No way, you're 5'11", maybe 4'11". See, look, and then comes Richard again. Hi ho. I think Mick looks like Rob Cross, more Rob Cross than what is it? Is it just pick on me night tonight? You're loving this, isn't you, Stephen? Look at the smile on Stephen's face. Stephen's waited so long for the abuse to be directed solely at me and none at him.
I'm not. So no. I'm not having that.
I think that yesterday he forced me into a false pretense and went, "Let's do a show tomorrow night." When secretly he's been texting all the listeners and going, "We get Mickey on and we just abuse him all night."
No. I'm not getting any slander. I've not got involved. I've not said nothing. Just sat here reading through the comments.
I don't think we will, by the way, Evans MFC. So yeah. Results talk, they do. I really you should say attendance on Tuesday. We will be back after that game. So yeah, can't see us improving until we get 3-4 players in. I think you're right. I don't think we'll probably get anyone in before Tuesday. It'll mean we need to get a player in tomorrow and sign them before probably midday to be able to get them to play for Tuesday. And I don't know if we're getting a match ready guy or not. Let's have a look at these. Let's get through these and then we'll go on to the comments. You two got anything else you want to say before I go into the what you called it?
No, mate, I think me and you, Stephen, you could log off now, mate. Just let him carry on all night with 5'11" jokes.
Oh, mate, fuck off. Right. We're done. We're done on the comments now, thank fuck. Right, let's go to the starred ones and you can add your comments to them, mate. We've done you. And we've done you, and we've done you, we've done you. Hi lads, we need to sort out squad, get rid of at least 6 players, bring some new faces in. Who knows how to play the game? Do you agree or disagree? That's you two.
Yeah, I completely agree.
About 6.
Yeah.
Get rid of. Yeah.
Well, we need big numbers that I don't think we're going to get, but we should do that. Yeah.
No, we've done that one. Honeyman is not a 10. I know what happened to Watmore. He fell off massively. Put Honeyman with Denor or Saville. That would be his favourite position. He needs a system and stick with it. And please, no free centre backs at home. 55 years I've been. This is Gary Turrell. 55 years I've been watching Millwall, going Millwall, and since Rowett Harris, been nothing but shit. And even with Alex Neil, we are still shit. Matt Webb says, no, we're in a back 5 Saturday. Scallon was pushed up to a midfield 3. Jonathan says, evening, Mr. Stark. We were pony yesterday all across the park. Pedestrians in transition. Strikers are only good for converting tries and over the hill backups.
To be fair, Matt, I'm pretty sure that Alex Newham said himself that he played wing backs in the back 5 to try and get behind them. Didn't work, but he said it was back 5.
No, that's it. Tango Aziz, Langstaff, maybe Denor are the only technical good players we've got. The rest are runners and tries. Sheila says, League One, please don't start if we don't sort ourselves out. Kevin says we're in deep shit. Kevin also says Gallen is the problem he thinks. Kevin says James Berylson still finding his feet, only his 2nd season. I agree. I think the recruitment model is right, but we're behind the curve. I think that's absolutely spot on. He says, evening boys, not slating Neil either, but all his post-match stuff on the website, he seems content and happy with the first 3 league games. For me, it's a concern. I don't believe it is. I think that's just fucking shit what's coming through from them. So, yeah. Poor 7-8 weeks of Harris era, poor per goal, winless. The model is great, but JB has to back it now or he'll start to get heat. He chose this and I agree with it, but it's now time to act. Let me just see. Stephen, we're restricted by FFP. Where are these decent players coming from that are going to be so good but cheap? Not going to happen. We have players with no footballing brains. Because basically they are cast-offs.
What I would say to that is that just in isolation, and again, I know I'll give him a bit of grief to start with. Femi Aziz come from League One, and we at the moment he is our only player that looks like he's capable of doing anything in this team. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but there are players in League One and League Two that are available. Or in Holland, Germany, whatever, there are players available for our budget. I'm not saying they're going to be world beaters, but they have to be. They are better, and I can guarantee you they will be better than watching George Honeymoon in a tent. I guarantee it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Following my last comment, he's proven at this level he needs time. I don't know who he's talking about now. No player moves off the ball. And when they don't know what to do when they have the ball, that's pretty much there. Sorry, honestly, big mistake in team selection. I'm worried about his manager. Being fair, Harris would pick a team and we would all scratch our heads. And Saturday, what the fuck? But then we win. Let's just check through some of these and then we will be all done. Any final words, Frankie, before I come to you, Stephen?
No, mate. I think I've been quite vocal tonight about how I feel about where we are and what we need to do in the next 16 days. Hopefully tomorrow gives us 3 points. We'll feel slightly bit more relaxed about the next couple of weeks, but at the minute, it's not looking good, is it?
No. Stephen?
Yeah, much the same. Frustrated, pissed off, all the usual, really, with how things are going at the moment. A glimmer of hope. I think that the Kramer signing is a really good signing. That's a good piece of business by the club. So maybe they are looking in the right sort of areas and the right sort of options moving forward. But ultimately, it's what happens on the pitch. It's our next run of fixtures. Someone put it in the chat. Our next run of fixtures are against teams that are below us. Cardiff, Luton, and Portsmouth for the next 3. We need points, and we need points quickly. Otherwise, we are going very, very much to the wire again, and we're not going to have the get out of jail card that we had last year.
Do you reckon we'd get Rowett back?
No.
Oh, he wouldn't leave. He wouldn't leave Oxford. Why would he? No way. No way.
I was taking this.
So yeah, there's a clip what's going out there now. Frankie wants Rowett back, but yeah. Michael, boys, where'd you get the 4-0 comments from? Because it's making him look bad right now, in my eyes, at least. I don't know. I managed to get hold of them, and I'm looking to potentially look at putting them on our shows. And I'm going to try harder now. I'm going to sit there and reach out to the club and ask for permission, or maybe not. Don't know. No, I'll ask for permission first, because we're looking to try and rebuild and try and get more bits and pieces. So we will look and try and get it for you so that we can play it out and go from there. Evans MSC, I wasn't there for Paddyman coming out. Kevin Brook, I think we're probably finalised on this one. And just double checking a sec. Is there anything on the other comments what needs to come up or not? Kevin Brook says Mill is family, granddad, dad, generational passion. Players and recruitment need to realise who we are. It's all about passion and never giving up. And I think that's probably spot on, really, isn't it?
Yeah, bang on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? You don't have to be the best player. You don't have to be, the next superstar. All you have to be is someone who gives a fuck and basically has a go. Mm-hmm. And if you give your heart and soul on that pitch, win, lose or draw, we're back here. So yeah, if you've managed to get to the end, go get yourself a cold shower. And thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe and like. Those of you watching on YouTube, and there are an awful lot of you, and less than a quarter of you have pressed like, which is disappointing. It would be nice if you could press the like button and get on there. Remember, if you are on Facebook or on socials, please do share the show across your socials. It all helps us. Yeah, Stephen, thank you very much for joining us. You coming back next Sunday then?
No, I'm actually away next weekend. Away for the weekend, so actually gutted as well to be missing Luton, but I'm away, I'm afraid.
We'll be back next Sunday evening where we will do the debrief and we'll have a look at the game ahead in brief. There'll probably be a pre-record show out this week looking at the Cardiff game in a little bit more detail.
Probably do Frankie, that one.
See you Friday, son.
Yes, mate.
Friday night live, and probably see you Sunday as well. I enjoyed tonight. I think we've had a whinge and a moan, but yeah, I think Millwall is all about having a whinge and a moan, isn't it? It's what we do best.
Something like that.
That's it. Right, I'm going to end with this. See you later.
Oh, giddy up and get away. Oh, we're going Millwall, how we're going today. Here we go.